Hey everyone, off the mic sports network here, off the top rope coming at you here. Oh buddy, SmackDown is cooked recently. Since the move to USA, I've talked about it here in this segment, this show. SmackDown is really starting to get into a new gear. And tonight, I don't know if it's because Raw's been getting a lot of tape shows because of the holidays and because of, the travel to Saudi Arabia, but man, SmackDown has been great, and tonight was no different. I'd say the last hour and 15 minutes of this show was about as good of television as I've seen from a wrestling perspective in the last couple of months. And you put it side by side, and I ranted and raved over what happened going into a pay-per-view. Mind you, War Games Survivor Series is in 8 days. AEW's got a pay-per-view tomorrow. I'm taping this on Friday night after SmackDown. And AEW put on one of the worst episodes of television I've ever seen in my life, considering they're going into a pay-per-view. Whereas WWE, with 8 days to go, mind you, they're going to tape SmackDown, puts together this just gem of a show. And like I said, the last hour or so was just, tip-top wrestling television and just captivating and just electrifying television from Salt Lake City, Utah. So it was great. But it's capped off with the answer to one of the big mysteries. A lot of people questioning whether or not there would be who would be the fifth man, because they did make it a 5-on-5 War Games match for Survivor Series between the OG Bloodline and Bloodline 2.0. Bronson Reed obviously now in the fold with with Solo's Bloodline, and the question became, okay, who is going to team with Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, and the Usos? And we get to the end of the show. It looks like they're setting up for like a surrender segment, which we all knew it was leading to something big was going to happen. And first off, we get the iconic tones of Paul Heyman. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. Looking very tan, by the way. It looked like he had a decent amount of a vacation for the last few months since being taken out by Solo's Bloodline. So good to see the wise man back in the fold. Roman's facial expression of just being jarred, like, whoa, that was great. Paul Heyman cuts the promo, says, hey, my math doesn't compute 4-on-5. It's going to be 5-on-5. And Cult of Personality hits. The place goes berserk. They went berserk for Heyman, too. Paul Heyman's maybe the only guy in the history of wrestling that I can see that could use his voice to get a pop from the crowd, not entrance music. It's really, he is a special figure in the world of professional wrestling. But this was so well done, and given the misdirect of Bronson Reed being in this match and people thinking Seth Rollins was somehow going to team with Roman Reigns, and they kept, resisting it. And some people were like, oh, God, it's going to be Seth. And then CM Punk comes out there. He doesn't really show any allegiance, or it doesn't even shake Roman Reigns' hand. So there's tension between the two of them. They've already teased Roman and Punk is a big rivalry emerging down the road. And CM Punk's doing this for Paul Heyman, his best friend. And mind you, there was a promo back in June when CM Punk was in Chicago, when he was getting ready to kind of heat up his feud even more with Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre attacked him on that show in Chicago. This was nearing the end of the Paul Heyman chapter of this thing. Like, Paul Heyman was like, take me with you, and just talking about his love for CM Punk and him being his best friend. So that plays into this. The Bloodline interrupts, so he's got some axes to grind in this too. But he doesn't have an allegiance to Roman. He's doing this for the wise man. But what the chain of events that is going to be set off because of this, it heats up the Seth Rollins side of this thing. The layers in this story, and adding the fifth man to this, which seemed like a throwaway proposition, has now become one of the more interesting things going into this match, because you have no fucking idea if CM Punk and Roman Reigns are going to be able to coexist. You have no idea how Punk's going to look in this match after coming off of a fucking Hell in a Cell match. By the way, a friggin' crazy Hell in a Cell match where he was beaten to bits, and But then the other element of this is Seth Rollins is going to be pissed because the guy that he hates more than anybody just one-upped him and is going to team with his mortal enemy in Roman Reigns. Like, this is beautiful. And we had been speculating throughout the week that this may happen. Some people were hoping that it would happen at Survivor Series, then they delay it. I'm glad they did it right here, because now the interest levels and the heightened, like, you know, the heightened, you know, just hype beyond this match, and CM Punk almost 1 year to the day, returning at this very event, is now going to be in a War Games match. You have Punk, you have such a loaded babyface team. Like, this is going to be freaking awesome. And I was pumping my fist. I was going crazy when Heyman came back. Like, I felt like a kid watching this segment, because this is what pro wrestling should be. Great storytelling. You're invested in these characters. Even Solo's been doing a really great job in being hated and, you know, showing some charisma in some of his promos to build up to this match. You even had Tama Tonga just jaw-jacking in the ring when 4-on-5 was facing. Heyman comes out, heats up the match. He can hype up anything. Can get me interested in watching basically a whole lot of nothing. Two wrestlers that I don't even care about. Paul Heyman could probably sell me on that. But, man, this was awesome. This was awesome. There's a tape episode that's going to be going on. Try to avoid spoilers about that. But I'm glad that they did this now. Rather than just wait till the end and have the mystery there. It might have been, you know, a satisfying thing, but it's like, at least it gives you a week of television to kind of, like, you know, play up how this is going to work out between Roman and Punk and all these other people, all these other pieces. Although the other four, I think, are going to not have an issue teaming with CM Punk, but, like, the Roman element's going to be really what's interesting about this whole thing. And then on top of it, is Rock going to be there? Because remember, from the whole Bad Blood experience, if you saw social media, Solo was whispering it's all part of the plan. So is Rock pulling the strings in this whole thing? But the chain of events that this is going to start kicking off going into next year is really going to be something. And that Seth Rollins element, man, I really want to see Raw on Monday to see how Seth Rollins reacts to this whole situation. But yeah, I'm glad that they stuck to their guns. They immediately nipped it in the bud. They tried to go back to it again, teased that Sammy would say, hey, we should try Seth again. And Roman was just like, no, that's not happening. Cody, they even threw that out there. And I got to talk about that segment in a second. But yeah, just amazing ending to SmackDown and an amazing way to build into War Games. So we start with the end. Usually on these shows, I like to go chronologically, but now we're starting to get some big-time moments here, as, you know, we've kind of gotten through the meandering months post-SummerSlam, and we're starting to really heat up into a big show in Survivor Series. And then you got Saturday night's main event at the end of the year, and then we get into, you know, Royal Rumble and WrestleMania season next year. So, and obviously the Netflix debut of Raw, January 6th, from the Intuit Dome here in Los Angeles. So, but yeah, this was a great show. And the ending is really a big part of it. Really just give you a couple cliff notes of my thoughts of the rest of the show. Chelsea Green wins a triple threat match in the to advance in the U.S. title women's tournament. Her and Bayley have now advanced in this tournament. Really, the story of this, Chelsea should have won this match easily. Blair Davenport was in there. Bianca Belair. I don't know why Bianca needed to be in this match. Bianca's, all due respect to a mid-card title, Bianca's above that. And the story really here played into the women's War Games storyline. Bianca gets distracted. Jade Cargill gets taken out, being thrown through a windshield of a car. They didn't show that on camera, but they go to the back, and it's Jade just being taken out and just obliterated. We don't know who did this. That's another mystery in this whole thing, which is going to be interesting to see play out. But Bianca leaves. And Chelsea Green, who got a massive reaction, the fans clearly connecting with Chelsea. And I think Chelsea is honestly the favorite to win this thing. Especially, like, I mean, yeah, you could say, yeah, people, you see the other names like, you know, a Jade or a Bianca were in this tournament. Jade's now been taken out of the tournament. I would expect Jade, who was going to be in the women's War Games match, she will not be there. So there is another mystery to be solved on who the fifth woman is on Team Babyface. A lot of people will speculate that it's Bayley. Bayley's got issues with Bianca Belair. That would seem like an easy pick. And all due respect to Bayley, I love Bayley. I think that's a lazy choice. If you want to create some buzz and you want to create some interest in a little bit of a surprise element to this whole thing, there are two options for the women in the women's War Games match. It is Charlotte Flair. It's whether or not she is ready to come back, or it is Becky Lynch. And given, the particulars in this story, I think Becky Lynch makes more sense. The question is, do you want to go for the even bigger surprise of Charlotte Flair, who hasn't been seen since the early portion, really all of this year, rehabbing a knee injury? That would be a big, get for the women's side. But given the fact that Becky has got heat with Liv Morgan, she's got beef with a lot of people on that team. Specifically Liv Morgan. Then also on the women's side, she just had a match with Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley's back in the fold. She's feuded with Bianca and now has an alignment with Bianca Belair. Obviously Naomi, they kind of were in the same initial SmackDown Live women's division when they did the brand split when SmackDown went live. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. Charlotte does, like I said, it would be kind of one of those, shocking elements of throwing her into the match. In regards to who takes Jade's spot in the U.S. Championship tournament, I don't know if you need to throw a big name in that fold as a surprise entrant. Maybe you could have somebody from an NXT like a Lash Legend, or somebody else from the NXT roster. To potentially throw them into that match. And because the NXT women's division is so damn deep that I think you can afford to, maybe throw a wrench in there and put somebody from there into the tournament in Jade Cargill's spot. But yeah, that was a development in this that I did not see coming as to why Jade was taken out of this match. Listen, I think Jade is fine. I think a lot of people are really like, yeah, Jade is still very green. And maybe they just wanted, to create a surprising element and an intriguing element into what was kind of a thrown together story for the women's War Games match. You bring in a big name. Jade is a big name. You also can plant the seeds of doubt. Like you saw, Bianca was really distraught in attending to her friend. You can plant the seeds of doubt with the whodunit storyline. So I was fine with this. And then obviously what it leads to in the U.S. title things, Chelsea Green advances, and to me, Chelsea Green and Michin are the two favorites, I think, to win this championship, because they had an outstanding dumpster match not too long ago. Chelsea Green's been killing it ever since she got back. I thought she should have won Money in the Bank earlier this year. I think Chelsea should win I think a heel and somebody to establish this. Chelsea has earned the right to hold the championship, so I hope that it's Chelsea. If it's Michin, I would be fine. Tiffany Stratton's in this tournament. I don't know why. She's got the Money in the Bank briefcase. Doesn't really make a whole hell of a lot of sense. Bayley, love Bayley. It would be, putting it in the hands of one of the flag bearers of the division, but I don't think Bayley needs anything to justify, holding this title. Like I said, I think you need to, legitimize it with somebody, a relatively new name, somebody who's earned it. And you could hear the reaction in the building. People love Chelsea Green. They really love Chelsea Green. That was something that really stuck out to me. People were going crazy. So that was awesome. Sort of a random thing. Santos Escobar, my God. I love Santos. But really, without Rey Mysterio or any of the stuff that he was doing in NXT, Legado del Fantasma and Santos Escobar is ice cold. You could hear nothing. You could hear audible silence in the Delta Center when he came out for his match with LA Knight. They had a match for the U.S. Championship. Really, the story of this was Shinsuke Nakamura, early distraction before the match begins. LA Knight gets the win, and then Shinsuke Nakamura makes the attack at the end of this thing. So we're clearly going towards Shinsuke and LA Knight, which, honest to God, is the most interesting feud that LA Knight has had since he won the championship. He's been a really good U.S. champion, but I've never thought during this reign, even with the Carmelo Hayes and Andrade stuff, I never really thought that LA Knight was ever in danger of losing the championship. This is really the first time that I feel that there's a possibility that there could be a title change. I don't think they will do it. It also is very intriguing, this new darker version of Shinsuke. It's the best he's looked in a while. I'm glad that they kind of gave him some time away. Shocking image, putting him in the ring with an uber babyface. Shinsuke's a very good heel, so this will be very interesting to see where this goes. But a nice little direction there that they've been going in the last couple of weeks with LA Knight. And then really the other, like I said, what really started, I think, just the amazing hour of television that was the second hour of this show. Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens have a promo. Cody had called out Kevin Owens in terms of, everything that had happened with, Kevin turning on him off television, and then obviously attacking Randy Orton, and then hitting a banned pile driver on Randy Orton. And I know a lot of the internet's been going crazy over how safe that pile driver was. Listen, I'm glad that they're actually selling that this pile driver is dangerous, unlike AEW where you see flipping pile drivers every second and you kick out at one. So, Cody, I have not seen this type of fire, and that, like, it was not like the cheesy, like, babyface, white meat babyface, like, so what do you want to talk about? Cody was pissed off, and you could sense it. Like, he comes out there in his American Nightmare jacket. He's yelling at Kevin Owens, like and Kevin Owens shows up in one of those tuxedo shirts, and Kevin Owens makes a jab at him, basically saying, "Hey, I wore my best attire for you. You didn't even show up in one of your cheesy politician suits." Kevin blames Cody for all of what has transpired because he teamed up with the guy who tried to end his career in Roman Reigns. Like, that stuff made sense. Cody comes back and talks about, "Oh, Kevin, you're always trying to play the victim, and you could have pulled the trigger on me at Bash in Berlin, but you didn't." And attacking Randy Orton was way too far. You used a banned pile driver. And so they're setting the stage for, I don't know what's going to happen, if they're going to do this match at Survivor Series, or if they're going to do this at Saturday night's main event. Frankly, and I've seen this speculated on a couple shows, I would do an unsanctioned match in the first match so that, it doesn't technically count. It's not really, and you're playing up the things like with the way that they've been building Kevin Owens' character, that he's just a reckless son of a bitch. And so then Kevin Owens can, win the match. So Kevin Owens can win that match, and then you head to a WWE Championship match at a later time. So based off the way that this has been going, I don't think that this is going to be on Survivor Series. I don't think, which is weird because, world champion, you have one world championship match, but, another pay-per-view where Cody Rhodes isn't defending his championship, because remember, he didn't defend it at Bad Blood. He didn't technically defend it at Crown Jewel. So here, it looks like it's either going to be an unsanctioned match or it's just not going to be on the show altogether. I think what's going to happen, I think this is going to happen at Saturday night's main event. Kevin Owens will win that match, and then we will get to the Royal Rumble. And that's where Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship rematch will happen again. Cody will win that match, and then that will lead into whatever becomes of the Randy Orton component of this thing, which is also very interesting because Randy Orton's going to have a reason to be pissed off that he got roped into all of this, being Cody's mentor and one of his best friends and one of his heroes really in this business. So that's a part of the story is yet to play out. But this was awesome. This was a great segment. Kevin Owens back to his old early NXT days of being this vicious, cold-blooded bastard, which is awesome. It's him in his best form, in my opinion, even though he's proven to be a very lovable and likable daredevil babyface. But yeah, this was great. Then you get, walking to the back. Cody Rhodes is walking in the back. Carmelo Hayes barks something at him saying, yeah, Kevin Owens was telling the truth. And so Carmelo Hayes and Cody Rhodes get into it. And Cody says to Nick Aldis, hey, make the match. Like, we should be reassessing you as the number 1 draft pick. So Cody and Carmelo are going to have a match. Good for Carmelo. Remember, they faced on Carmelo's first night on the main roster on SmackDown. So that'll be something to watch. So that and we'll see if going into next week, and this will be, like I said, this is a tape show. We'll see if they use that match with Carmelo Hayes to, maybe get to a Survivor Series match with Kevin Owens. We'll see. But the way that this is going with, 8 days to go before a pay-per-view, you could theoretically announce the match, but maybe they just leave this and, stretch this out a little bit longer. And, you have a first match where Kevin Owens wins at Saturday night's main event. And then, you drag this out and go to the Rumble, and have Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes there. And that sets the stage, because at this point, there's really no heel name or heel foil at this point that really even measures up to Kevin Owens in terms of who could be a challenger for Cody Rhodes. Drew McIntyre's off television, but I don't anticipate them doing that right now. Randy Orton's off television. He'll be the heel. That's probably going to be the match at WrestleMania, the way that this story is going to go. It's not going to be Rock and Cody. That's not going to happen. So, but yeah, great stuff here. Then you get a tag match between Naomi and Bayley, taking on Tiffany Stratton and Candice LeRae. So big cogs in the women's War Games match. This ends in a DQ. Nia Jax gets involved. You get a bunch of a run in. And we're not going to, I don't know when we're going to figure out who the 5th woman in this match, but I can tell you right now, Jade Cargill's absolutely, it would be stupid at this point to have Jade Cargill come back, after the way that they staged that angle with her just, being taken away in an ambulance after being laid out on top of a car. So that's, you get the Rhea Ripley pop. Io Sky's out there. Interesting that Io and Bayley didn't really have an interaction in this whole thing, which I thought could have been something that they could have played into, but not a whole lot really played into about who is going to be the 5th woman replacing Jade Cargill in this match. Montez Ford and Tommaso Ciampa had a really good match, really fast paced. Tommaso Ciampa hits a nasty looking knee and then tries to go for a fairy tale ending, but somehow Montez Ford rolls him up for the win. They're clearly playing into some interesting development in the tag team division, with Ciampa looking like he's going back to his old Blackheart days. Is DIY going to be a heel team, or is Johnny Gargano just going to stay as the babyface? I'll be honest with you. A lot of people are just seemingly just giving into the fact that Tommaso Ciampa is going to be heel. It's where does Tommaso Ciampa go as a single right now? I don't know. So I think Johnny Gargano is going to turn heel and align with Tommaso Ciampa and turn on the guys that he's seemingly backing right now. I think this is all kind of a misdirect here, and that DIY is going to go heel in all of this, give some new energy to their tag team. We haven't really seen a heel DIY at all, so that would be interesting. You've already got Candice LeRae as a heel, so it would make a lot of sense. Not that they're going to be aligned together, but it would make some sense to, align this thing. I love the heel version of Ciampa. I love what they're doing with the Motor City Machine Guns in this story. Tag team wrestling has really been a dying breed this year in WWE. I saw a stat. It's been 150 days since the Judgment Day. Finn Balor and JD McDonough have been the champions, and they've defended the belts once. So why did we split the titles at WrestleMania? But it is cool that, the Motor City Machine Guns are such an integral part of tag team wrestling in WWE. So that'll be great. And then obviously, the end of the show was what it was. So this was a great SmackDown. So yeah, we got 2 episodes of television before we get to War Games in Vancouver. Should be an awesome, awesome show. Can't wait for Monday. They're in Glendale, Arizona. I can't wait to see what Seth Rollins has to say in regards to Punk joining the Bloodline for War Games. Maybe there's supposed to be a advantage match taking place on this show, so that should be interesting, and maybe we find out more information as to who the 5th woman is for the baby faces here. So that's going to be something to watch. And then if we're going into a tape show, how do Punk and Roman Reigns, two massive egos, coexist on this War Games team? Do they do it for the good of Paul Heyman, their wise man? It'll be interesting to see, but I love this show. I love this SmackDown. This was great, really awesome. Excited to see where things go into Survivor Series. If there was any questions about WWE kind of coasting, they kicked it into high gear in the last week or so. Really tip-top television here tonight. So like, share, and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button below. We'll have a lot more content coming out throughout the weekend. We'll see how AEW does this weekend with Full Gear. I'm not too terribly interested in it. If you are, tell me in the comments why you're interested. What's your favorite match? Tell me, or you can, hit me on Twitter at OffTheMic28. Hey, Mike, you're an idiot. I want to watch this match. Because there's some matches that I'm interested in, but the storytelling is not nearly close to what we're seeing just even in a span of 45 minutes to an hour on SmackDown. 8 days before a pay-per-view. Not 4 days or 3 days like what AEW had. 8 days. And they've been building this thing since Roman Reigns returned in August. Actually, hell, you could go back to June with the CM Punk component of this match. You could go back all the way to the start of the year with the Seth Rollins and CM Punk component of this match. So there's a lot going on. But yeah, we'll have a lot more stuff here and some sports content as well. I will talk to you guys very soon. See you later. Bye.